Hey guys, Corey here, and today I'm going to be showing you some of my favorite software synthesizer plugins that I use on a regular basis, almost every day. These are kind of plugins that I've built and not built, but they've kind of made their home in my live and studio templates. Built a bunch of presets for them that are just kind of ready to go whenever I need them. So I'm going to get right to the first one here. So the first one I want to show you is one it's a wavetable synthesizer. So this is really similar to one called Massive that came out years ago, made by Native Instruments. This is made by Xfer Records. They do pretty much the same kind of stuff, but this has a few extra little hidden features that I really like. It's really versatile, sounds really great and really smooth, but you can get all kinds of crazy sounds out of it. So this is one that I use for pads. A lot of times when I'm creating pads, I'll go to this guy. There's a lot of flexibility in getting different textures and ambient stuff in here. So this is kind of the main menu here, the oscillator view. So you've got oscillator A and B here, and you'll see these wave tables. So different shapes, and you can pick and choose like all these different shapes, and then automate or map these controls to anything you may have. But for now, I'm just going to recall my basic synth patch here. And then I'm just going to play this MIDI clip that I'm going to play it a few times. I'm going to play it once through so you can hear what the sound is doing. And then I'll adjust some of these parameters and show you the ones that I kind of reach for when I'm using this guy to create maybe a pad or a different kind of lead sound or just a more standard synthesizer part. So here we go. From that MIDI clip, I'm just going to play it once through, and then I'll start playing it again, just messing with some of those parameters for you. All right, so really bright, aggressive, maybe a little harsh there, but once I start messing with the filter and some of these other parameters, you'll see exactly how moldable this shape is. This synthesizer is. So here we go. Okay, so that's just the filter. You've got a ton of different filters to choose from here. I'm going to play it one more time and adjust the attack, decay, sustain, release parameters here. Show you what those will do. Okay, so that shows you a little bit of what you can do in terms of the actual envelope or the shape of the sound. I'm going to show you a couple of quick presets that I've made before. So here's a pad. There's a river that I use, so it sounds like this. Right, so real gritty and grainy, and so how I got that sound is actually you've got an effects bank here. So you've got a ton of different effects that you can adjust here. You can drag these around and change the order in which they appear in your chain if you want to just go crazy with the order there. So there's a lot of flexibility in here. You've got a modulation matrix here. So what that allows you to do, so say I want to assign this LFO to, let's say, the panning of this oscillator. I can literally just drag this, click and drag to this pan parameter. And then when I'm playing this, that panning is now being adjusted by this LFO, and I can speed this up or down. Let's slow it down. And then by clicking and dragging this little kind of half circle thing at the top, I can adjust how much it's panning one way or the other. So if I want to go the opposite way, but only about halfway, let's put it at 50. It's a little bit more subtle now. So there's so much flexibility. You can literally map this LFO to almost every single parameter. And you've got 4 different LFOs and envelopes you can map that stuff to. So really flexible plug-in here. So this is one of my favorites for just sound design in general. All right, so again, this is called Serum by X4 Records. All right, so the next one I want to show you is called DRC. And this was kind of meant to emulate a lot of really great qualities from old synthesizers, analog synthesizers, all right? So there's like old Roland Junos and Moog synthesizers, just to name a couple. So they took a lot of those same sonic characteristics and the circuitry of those analog synthesizers and kind of threw into this guy. And this is one of my absolute favorite plugins. I actually wish I used this more than I do. I've had it for a little while. It's really great for creating arpeggio stuff, lead sounds. I haven't used it a lot for pads, but I know it's capable of creating a lot of really great pad sounds. But this is kind of what it looks like. You've got your oscillators, kind of like on the Wavetable, the Serum synth. Then you've got a sub oscillator, modulation, all kinds of different effects here. Portamento time, like a glide time, legato, all that kind of stuff. Your filter, cutoff resonance, and then you've got a master and pregain. So this pregain, the more you drive it, the more kind of overdriven the circuit becomes. So it's almost like running your synthesizer at max volume through some old preamp in the studio or something where it starts to break up and distort a little bit. It's just really warm overdrive sound. So, and then you've got your mixer of the oscillators, the sub, noise, all kinds of different stuff down here with LFOs. So we're not going to dive into all that stuff, but I'll show you just the main basic synth that I've got loaded up here and show you some of the parameters as I start to tweak those. So here's this one. Okay, so that's a really old school kind of tone, almost like an 8-bit video game type thing, just the way I've got this one set up right now. But if I start messing with some of these, I'll switch the oscillator one. Let's go make this an octave or 2 higher. Adjust the fine tuning a little bit. And then let's add some sub. And let's see, what else can we do? We'll mess with this cutoff. So I'll play that again and start messing with some of this stuff. Also got a delay and reverb here, so I can turn that up. Let's go bring this back down. Listen to that reverb. So now what went from this 8-bit kind of sound kind of turned into almost like an organ. And there's all kinds of stuff, again, messing with the envelope here so I can make it kind of plucky sounding if I bring this sustain down and adjust this decay time. So I'll play that again. Okay, so there's all kinds of possibilities in terms of this synthesizer. So again, I like to use this for the arpeggiators a lot of times. So if I turn that on, just on the default setting here. Okay, so that's a lot of fun too. But yeah, man, this is one that's great if you're really looking for that analog flavor and your lead sounds, arpeggio sounds. This is definitely one that I recommend for that kind of vibe. So that's DRC. The company that makes that is, I think they're called Imaginando or something like that. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but just look up DRC Synth. If you Google that, you'll find it right away. The next one is TAL, the UNOLX V2. So this is actually an emulation of an old Juno synthesizer, a Juno 60. So really popular back in the 80s. Really popular in pop music, experimental stuff. There's so much stuff you can do with this. I'm not going to go into all the features again on this one, but there's a lot to check out on this guy that's really useful. So if I play that same MIDI clip again, all right, so that's how I've got it. So all these in my template don't sound great in the template. They're just there ready to go to where if I just start adjusting a couple parameters, I can get close to the sound that I'm going for right away. So maybe not the most inspiring right out the gate, but just turning a couple knobs or adjusting some faders here or there, I can get that pretty quick. So if I wanted to go for more of a pad sound from this Juno, I might adjust the attack, bring the release up a little bit, and then bring this frequency down, and then we'll see what that sounds like. Okay, so getting more pad-like, I would say, by adjusting those. And then I've got these different oscillators here. I've got a square wave or a saw. So if I go to square, then I can go bring that down to the envelope. Okay, so a lot of cool possibilities with this one. One of my favorite features about this though is the Juno chorus that's built in. So this is a really popular chorus that was just really unique and special when you heard it on those Junos. So without that, I'm gonna bring this frequency up. So this is what that sounds like without the chorus. Okay, and then this is with it. And then here's the second one. It's a little more intense, and then I can add them both together. And then if I go back without either one of them. Okay, so it's a lot more inspiring with one or both of those on, in my opinion. So that's really cool plugin. Not that expensive. This is a really popular plugin for that Juno sound. They did a really great job of capturing that stuff. All right, so go check that one out. This makes its way onto a lot of tracks, whether it be for synth or lead sounds, more sustainy, or even like if I bring this down and kind of that plucky sound again. So there's a lot of cool stuff that you can get with this just by, again, messing with the ADSR, the attack, decay, sustain, release on any synth. If you have those controls, man, you're going to be able to really shape your sound quite a bit. But this is a really popular plugin, again, from that Juno retro vibe. Really great. So that's the TAL. And then this fourth one here is made to emulate an old Oberheim synthesizer. So this is based off the OBX, I think, by Oberheim. And this is called the OBXD. And this one looks kind of crazy at first. It's just a lot of knobs, a lot of buttons, a lot of control there. But really the ones that I'm reaching for the most are going to be in this filter section. Obviously the attack, decay, sustain, release here. And the frequency of the pulsing, the pulse width, and some of these pitch envelope adjustments here. So this is kind of how I've got it set up in my template right now. It's more of an old school kind of brassy late 80s vibe. There's a lot you can get just tonally with this, but I'll play that MIDI clip again with this kind of my default setting here. Okay, so really cool, really vibey 80s synth sound there. So one set of parameters that I really enjoy though is this voice variation. So if by default, these are all pointing like straight up, as you can see there on the screen. But if I start messing with these are actually like kind of pan knobs for all these different areas on the keyboard. So right now it sounds kind of mono and a little bit chorusy. So I've got the oscillators kind of working with each other to create that vibe. But if I start adjusting these a little bit at a time, I get this really kind of randomized panning effect. So if I just play the same note over and over, you hear it panning just randomly. So if I play that same MIDI clip again and play it, you're going to get all this stereo information. Okay, so that's maybe a little overboard. I probably wouldn't use that effect that much, but it is very useful to have that if I want something really wide in my mix. I want a synthesizer sound that just really is side to side instead of just kind of right down in the middle mono. And the unpredictability of this is kind of what makes it cool to me. So if I use that a little bit more subtle, a lot of times I get this really vintage, wider Oberheim sound that I'm a huge fan of. So this is that same adjustment again, and this time I will adjust some of the other parameters, the cutoff and stuff. So here we go. All right, so there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this. Again, this is one that I really love creating pads with, really thick, kind of 80s inspired, wide, really lush pads. So again, this is the OBXD, and I believe this is a free download as well. So definitely go check that out. Definitely nothing to lose there. So that's the OBXD, and then the last one I want to show you here in this video is called Monarch. So this is by Native Instruments. It's using the Reactor plugin, or Reactor Player, I believe it works with as well. Kind of like Contact and Contact Player, but this is using the Reactor plugin. So what this one is an emulation of an old Moog Model D synthesizer. So monophonic synthesizer, really popular back in the day, and there's a bunch of different emulations of this, but this is kind of my favorite emulation that I've found. So this was part of a bundle that I got with some Native Instruments stuff a couple years ago, but man, I love this for lead synthesizer sounds, synth bass. This is my go-to software synth bass. I've actually got a analog Moog myself, and man, it sounds incredible, but when I want to get something really great for my synth bass sounds that's inspired by that, I reach for this 9 times out of 10 rather than hooking up my analog synth, depending on what's going on. But 9 times out of 10, I'll grab this guy. I know it sounds great. And I love, like I said, I love this for synth bass, but for lead sounds, I'll throw a ton of reverb and delay on it for lead sounds in certain songs, adjust the ADSR, the attack, and decay a little bit. And man, it's just so useful. So I'm going to show you, this is my kind of default preset, mess with some of the parameters again, and show you what it's capable of in terms of synth bass and lead sound. So here we go. All right, so that's just the default setting or patch that I've got in my template. If I start turning these oscillators off, a lot different sound there. And that one's an octave higher. And that one I'm using more as a sub oscillator. But if I start adjusting this feedback, I can really overload and drive the circuit. So check out this. All right, and then here's the cutoff. So really cool sounds there for synth bass, but obviously if I go up and start using it for a lead, pretty cool just by itself. But man, if I let me throw some reverb on this. Let's just go crazy and max it out here. Throw some delay on it as well. Bring this back down, maybe just use this sub aux or oscillator. Switch oscillators to the second one. All right, so just adding some of those effects, those delays and reverbs. There's so much cool ambient stuff that you can make just with your synth lead sound. So I do that quite often with this guy. Really similar sound sonically. They've really kind of nailed it in my opinion in terms of getting that Moog, classic Moog sound with the filters, being able to overdrive the circuit, those oscillators, giving you all the control there. So man, it's super flexible. You're able to get all kinds of old school vintage sounds and kind of new school modern lead sounds, pulse sounds for synth based stuff. That's just really great. Let me show you some of what this will do here. And I can mess with that all day. So I hope that's inspiring to you guys. Definitely worth checking out. Again, this one, is called Monarch by Native Instruments. It's not that expensive, but again, it comes with a big bundle. So I'm not sure how much it was when I got that, but that was part of that bundle. And again, one of my go-to synthesizers. So hope this video was helpful to you guys, gives you an idea of what I use on a regular basis. There's a few other synths that I'd love to talk about in a different video at some point that I didn't mention in this. One of them is Omnisphere. I think Adrian talked a little bit about that in some of his videos. A lot of guys use that. It's great for ambient pads, just a ton of presets, thousands of presets that are great for ambient worship stuff. Some of the other ones that I use, I think I actually have one built in here. No, I don't in this template, but it's called Tyrell N6 by UHE, and it's kind of emulated after Juno 60 as well. It's a free download, so go check that one out if you don't want to spend the cash on the TAL Juno plugin, but you want something that's capable of doing pretty much the same kind of stuff. It's got a bunch of extra features on it. It's not a direct emulation of that synth, but it's really close to it. So go check that one out. Massive, again, Native Instruments. That's one that I used to use all the time before I got Serum. Does kind of the same stuff, the Wavetable synthesizer. So it's super flexible. But gosh, there's so many of them out there. I like the ones that kind of emulate the best of the analog world and give me the flexibility of the digital software synth stuff too. So I hope that makes sense. If you guys have any questions, feel free to just shoot us a message or send us an email about any of the questions you may have regarding this stuff. But man, have fun checking out at least some of the free ones. If you don't already have those, go download those, check them out. Have some fun with them and build those right into your templates if you have them for main stage or whatever your DAW is. I'm using Ableton, but it doesn't really matter. These are all third-party plugins. You don't have to have one DAW software or another. They'll work with all of it. So I hope that's a benefit to you guys. I hope this video was helpful, and I will see you next time.